In some countries, I was told that you could submit probably a BIM model to the contractor and he takes over from there to realize that space. But here we are in India, we still have to create a whole lot of bunch of documents in hard copy and soft copy and PDFs to then deliver it to the client. Effectively, is what we are printing is what is already modeled. So I sometimes find what a waste of time that we have now modeled the entire building in Revit. Why not just give the Revit model and let him build it?
You're spot on. Here in Singapore, it's mandatory for statutory submissions, sanction drawings. You submit the BIM model, and that's they started with projects certain size, and they have been making it smaller and smaller and smaller. And now I think everything has to be submitted in BIM. And you are rightfully so saying that as well, the contractors.
Yeah, we had a similar experience when we were doing the Reliance Geo Convention Center, which is about an 8 million square feet mixed use. You got residential on the top, you got a convention center, you got a grand theater, all of that. Also, when it happened, thankfully we had Samsung as the master contractor who could create that supercomputer to bring in all the BIM models and integrate them into one big model to, then run through it.
We basically abandoned CAD. We have a few licenses. And every time the client asks us for the CAD, we just downgrade or export from Revit into CAD because that is the software that they can open. But we decided long time ago that for quality control, we are developing everything in BIM. So plans, sections, elevations, everything tally is a model, and you develop it the right way since day one.
My name is Pooja Tiwari, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to episode 4 of VC Live Season 3. For those of you joining us for the first time, VC Live is brought to you by the Godrej Value Co-Creators Club, an initiative by Godrej Locks and Architectural Fittings and Systems. We are very, very excited to introduce our recently launched Smart Lock, and here's a video showcasing its innovative features.
The greatest gift of innovative technology is the ability to do new things. New ways to work. New ways to connect. New ways to enjoy life. At Godrej Locks, we're constantly innovating to open up new possibilities for modern safety. Presenting the Godrej Advantis IoT 9, India's first 9-in-1 internet digital door lock, giving you smarter, easier and better ways to access superior safety. We're proud to say the Godrej Advantis IoT 9 is designed and made in India for the world. A 9-in-1 digital marvel, the Godrej Advantis IoT 9 Smart Door Lock is a giant leap forward in safety technology. With the help of a system integrator, you can integrate the Advantis IoT 9 lock with your home automation system. With the Advantis IoT 9, you can give voice commands through Alexa or Google Home to perform various functions like unlocking the door, getting battery status information, and more. The lock's software seamlessly updates over the air, thus effortlessly ensuring your lock always has the latest features and improvements. The lock's encrypted data has cloud storage that resides in India, ensuring trustworthiness and reliability. This is the only lock that gives you voice guidance for lock operation and programming commands, not just in English and Hindi, but also in regional languages. Unlike any other lock in the world, the lock gives you 9 ways to manage your home's safety. You could use your smartwatch, whether Apple or Android, to open the lock. You can use your mobile phone to open the door using NFC technology. You can open this lock remotely via Wi-Fi using the mobile app, or open this lock by using the app on your mobile phone with Bluetooth, or use your fingerprint or an RFID card, or by typing in your unique passcode, or using a remote control. There's also a mechanical key as an option. While these 9 access options make the Godrej Advantis IoT 9 door lock special, there are other features that give you a superior user experience. You can give someone you trust a one-time password or OTP that allows that person a single-time access of the lock. You can even schedule access for a specific time of the day. The lock's dual authentication mode ensures greater safety by requiring two different access methods to open the lock instead of just one. The lock can be integrated with a video door phone. The privacy function ensures that once the privacy button is turned on, the lock cannot be opened from the outside, thus protecting your privacy. The lock has a passage mode where the access can be temporarily disabled for a required duration. When the battery goes below a threshold level, the lock alerts you with a beeping sound. In the case of 3 wrong access attempts, an anti-prank alarm goes off. To help you monitor the access into your home, the usage events of the lock are logged in the mobile app and can be retrieved whenever required. The lock comes with an inbuilt doorbell, which visitors can conveniently use to alert you of their arrival at your doorstep. The lock has a spy code mode that protects the secrecy of your passcode in the presence of strangers. You can enter random numbers before and after your passcode, thus maximizing your home's safety. As India's first 9-in-1 internet lock, the Godrej Advantis IoT 9 door lock truly makes your home future-ready with the cutting edge of digital safety technology.
Godrej Locks.
After such an informative video, now let's talk about GVCC. The Godrej Value Co-Creators Club was established 3 years ago with the aim of building a community that supports and nurtures architects and interior designers. It has since then grown into a thriving network of over 2,000 practitioners, and we are growing stronger each day. If you haven't already signed up, feel free to do so using the link in the chat box. One of our key community-led initiatives is the VC Live, a platform where we bring together global experts to share their insights on architecture and design. Let's take a quick look at what GVCC is all about.
Welcome to the Godrej Value Co-Creators Club, where innovation meets collaboration. GVCC is a unique platform for architects and interior designers to merge their creative visions with our innovative product offerings. We aim to cultivate a network of thought leaders, driving innovation and excellence in the industry. Celebrate your achievements with our GV's Awards, recognizing innovative projects across various verticals. Join our community through exhibition visits and masterclasses to stay updated on the latest trends and technologies. Enjoy exclusive access to new products, special discounts, and tours of our Mumbai and Goa plants. Join the Godrej Value Co-Creators Club today. Be part of a community that values innovation, collaboration, and sustainability.
VC Live is a monthly series that brings together leading experts in the field of architecture and design to share insights through interactive conversations. In previous sessions, we have explored themes like conscious design and smart living. This season, we are pushing boundaries with our theme Future Forward, where we are exploring innovative, visionary, and sustainable ideas that are shaping the future of architecture and design. Our goal is to challenge the status quo and inspire fresh perspectives on how we design the spaces around us. The theme Future Forward encourages us to think beyond the present and into the future of our built environments, addressing key issues such as sustainability, technology, and functionality. Today's episode continues this journey with the topic From Ideas to Spaces. And we are thrilled to have two incredible speakers with us who are at the forefront of architectural innovation. Let's dive into today's exciting topic, From Ideas to Spaces, where we will explore how creative visions are transformed into real-world architectural masterpieces. Our first speaker is someone who truly embodies the spirit of this theme. I am honored to introduce architect Rafael Acosta, principal at Aedas Singapore. He brings over 25 years of experience, having worked on more than 60 projects across countries such as Colombia, USA, China, Singapore, and India. He has been involved in some landmark projects, including the Marina Bay Sands Integrated Resort and India's high-speed rail stations. Since joining Aedas in 2010, he has led the design of significant projects like the Suntex City Mall ANA and Sinarmas Land Headquarters in Jakarta. He's currently the country head for the Indian subcontinent, overseeing large residential mixed-use and infrastructure projects across cities like Gurugram, Bangalore, and Mumbai. Let's warmly welcome our speaker. Warm welcome, Rafael. We are very, very excited to hear your insights on how architectural ideas are transformed into functional, impactful spaces. Over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. So let me share my screen. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. All right, so let's start really quickly. I just wanted to start with something a little funny, just to create a little bit of buzz here. Unfortunately, I cannot hear the audience, but I hope you have a little bit of a laugh here. So I'm going to start talking about the sandcrawler. You're going to be wondering, why am I doing this? Turns out we designed a building called the Sandcrawler here in Singapore. It's a great building. It's an office building that has been obviously shaped by the image of the Sandcrawler, because this was the headquarters for Lucasfilms, and they had the CGI division here. But the interesting thing of this is that they had a Yoda there, and here in my office, everybody was making fun of me because I was joining this season 3, episode 4. So welcome to this, you are. Let me go really quickly now through who are we, Aedas. We have been one of the top architectural firms in the world for the last 20 years. Without any intent of saying bad things about anybody else, this is what I want to show. Aedas is considered number 11 in terms of registered architects in China, number 12 in terms of the revenue around the world. And here we have a little bit of comparison with some of the Indian firms. Again, no offense, I'm not trying to belittle anybody of anything. It's just a ranking that we just follow. For us, international awards are very, very important because we're design driven. So we have won more than 1,000 international awards, and we do everything from master plan to interiors to landscape, all the design related activities. We are located in 12 cities. We have around 1,200 architects. Singapore is the second largest in the group. Hong Kong is our headquarters and largest office. And then our Singapore office manages the Southeast Asia along with the Indian subcontinent. So we do all this from Singapore. This is very quickly a list of some of the projects that we have done. We have done projects for more than 20 years in India, very successful. And these are some of the clients that we have worked in the past. Now to the important stuff. How do we design? That is a very important, and I think that is the key topic or the key idea that relates to this webinar. So we strive to understand the local characteristics of each site, and we go very, very deep into that. It's not just understanding where is the sun coming from and how much is the FSI. We go way deep into that for a specific reason. We want to use that as the metaphors or analogies to create the design concept. Some people might say this is irrelevant. We believe in this. This allows people to relate to the project in a very, very different manner than if they didn't. And this allows us to have discussions about what is important in the concept. Sometimes when people present certain ideas, then become subjective. People say, well, I don't agree with that. When you have a strong concept, then you can define all your decisions using that concept. So let me give you a few examples. I'm going to show 5 case studies really quickly. I was requested to present a few international, and then I'm going to move into some that are in Asia, in India. I'm going to start with this National Trade Center in Taichung in Taiwan. So all these slides that you're going to see have the same structure. I'm going to go through the inspiration. In this case, is this bamboo shot. That became the concept. And the concept, like any architectural concept, we go through iterations, we present options, we debate, excuse me, we debate the pros and cons of each option, and we evolve the design. And that eventually is the realization. Once the project is finished, once the whole team of architects, consultants, clients, and everybody have put their grain of salt, we realize the projects. So we think this is an amazing project in the middle of Taichung. One of the key things here is that despite the curve shape and despite all these non-traditional design decisions, the building was very cheap because there's no curved glass. There is only floor to ceiling or floor to floor curtain walls. There is no continuous curtain wall. So the project was very successful. And this is one of those key projects that we have with a strong concept that once it's realized, it becomes that. Case number 2, this is a university in Xi'an, a city in China, the Jiatong University. In this case, the inspiration was there is a rock formation in this area of China where you see all these porous and very organic type of rocks. That became the concept. So you can see here how that was evolved. What we decided was to have an open element, a mass that was open and porous to create light, to create wind, to create all this concept and to interpret the stones that are in the region into the project. So this is the realization. It's a very, very interesting building. It's not a commercial building. It's a university headquarters. So we're very proud and very happy of the result of this project. Then we have case study number 3. This is called Li Architecture. I don't know why this has a French name in China. And the inspiration here was also rocks, but a very, very different type of rock. Is these pebbles. So here, the concept you see, it evolved through the pebbles next to the water because the site has this water next to it, the river that flows in a highway. And all this moss that you see in the rocks in the previous image and all the sustainability and all these elements were incorporated into the concept very quickly. So this is the realization of the project. Might not be the taste of many people, that is debatable, but that's fine. What I tried to convey a few minutes ago is the concept is there, and you can't deny that the concept became reality through a long process and gave to the city and to the users something different, something new, which is what we try to do most of the time. Study number 4 is what we call the Kuchipudi Towers in Amaravati. So this, I'm going to spend a little more time showing the process. So the inspiration, obviously, that has is very clear for the audience what the Kuchipudi Tower means. And this was the process that the dance became the shape and eventually became the concept. But it was a little more than that. So I'm going to show you here some of the drawings that we presented as part of the design workshop and the concept. This was back in 2017. So this was before my time. I took over the job as the head of India for Aedas. Obviously, we understand where the context is, Andhra Pradesh, Amaravati capital, and there was a master plan done by Norman Foster, and we were requested as part of this was a competition, by the way, to develop the 2 signature towers at the end of this master plan. So you can see there the 2 towers, and we started, as I was saying, going deep into the understanding of the site. We went into cultural elements, folklore, mythology, and then obviously all the analysis that we should do anyways about the sun, about the wind, about the orientation, performance, all these type of things to create something. So we presented the dancing towers, and this is the concept that eventually started morphing into the Kuchipudi Towers. The size of the buildings was decided by obviously the FSI, the program, and the orientation to take care of the winds. That started morphing and evolving into these towers, and we started relating to the Kuchipudi dance. We go through the side boundary, continuations of the axis, all this normal stuff, the vastu, and once we collect all these things together, that is the justification for the project. that can be used very effectively from that point onwards. So as you see, this is a mixed use. There is an office, there is a hotel, there is a service apartment. So the building has all these different facilities. We went deep into the sustainability strategy as part of this. It has wind turbines, solar panels, you name it. It has these fantastic terraces with water collection, with, again, solar panels, sky gardens at different levels of the building, the landscape, the communication from the main axis, and the communication to all the areas surrounding with terraces, with artwork, with community spaces. And then the landscape on the roof, on the terrace gardens, all this was trickling down and eventually becoming the realization. So this project, unfortunately, is not built, but it was a very interesting example from the idea to the realization. So we were requested to create these very international towers with Indian flavor, and that's exactly what we delivered. And finally, case number study is a high-end residential that we have in Gurgaon. I cannot disclose the client at this moment. We're still in the design process. But this started with, or this is the inspiration. However, it didn't start like this. We came up with our first concepts. At that moment, we had two. One was the body or the banyan tree, and the other one was the Aravalli Hills that are surrounding that area of Gurgaon. And we did these hand sketches that they were very powerful. And then our task was, okay, how do we make this into a project and start developing? So today, world, you have to be living under a rock if you don't know what the AI is doing for you. So we have been using that a lot as a tool of exploration. So in a few minutes, you have ideas of towers. And it's our own decision to decide which one of these is valid and which one is not. Sometimes you see things that are irrelevant. That's fine. It's part of the exploration. And then we go into the patterns and we go into all these things. And then we start modeling. So the early implementation of this project, we found a number of problems that the concept was not coming through, and we were not able to achieve the ideas that we had with the banyan tree, for example, in this case, or with the Aravalli Hills, for example, in this case. However, this was implemented later. So we kept on exploring, and it's part of our job here. We debate a lot and we create a lot of different options. Many of them are contradicting, have pros and cons, and that is part of the process that enriches the design. So the first concept that we studied or we proposed to the client was the weave based on these traditional weaving patterns and techniques. So definitely the location in the site. In this particular option, we were supposed to create 3 towers, one with 4 BHKs, the other 2 with 3 BHKs, each one of them. We extrude them, we locate the EWS, we locate the club, we locate the podium with the car park. All this is very common, but then is where we start applying the concept and create the weaving in this case. Try to bring like the Aravalli Hills and try to weave into this pattern certain landscape areas for different activities. And at the top, create some penthouses as a great USP of this option. So this had a good starting point. We presented this to the client. It was very well received. Very constrained building, very elegant. It's high-end residential, I repeat. So this had the potential of becoming something very good. And then the second concept was something different. We call it we use the step well as the basis for this. So we started with a similar process, understanding the site. In this case, we decided to do 2 options, or 2 towers, should I say, with the 2 BHKs, 3 BHKs, and 4 BHKs on each side. And then we started carving the mass and creating the stepwell concept, not only on the top, as you can see here, but also on the bottom, and you will see that in a few minutes. And then we took the opportunity to lift the club and put it there as part of the the idea of the stepwell. So again, the penthouses and the carving, and this, as you see, became something very easy to work with, that gave us very strong concept, and that was used not only on the beginning, on the lower part of the building, but on the penthouses and the terraces and the club. So this was very well received. client initially said, okay, I want you guys to proceed with second concept, and we started developing it. But unfortunately, something happened and we lost the bridge, we lost a number of things. So what happens is what we call the masala option. The client asks us, okay, can you do option 1 with option 2? So this is what we did. We combined the two ideas, and it basically became the woven step well, if you will, or something along those lines. So we took this, we did the weaving, we did the step well, we did the penthouses, and then we maintain a number of the ideas that were set out from the beginning. So the penthouses and the stepping on the penthouses has been maintained. Then we have this on the bottom that was very, very important. But not only this, we were requested to do something additional. I'll show you in a minute, and it's this. There was a tunnel that was connecting this to the basement. So we brought the step all the way down, all the water trickling down. So that was a very important concept that worked very well. And this is the realization. Right now, we are in the middle of the DD. The project has not been launched, hence I cannot disclose many details, but probably some of you know exactly where this is. And this is finally the realization, going through the evolving process to create more and refine the ideas. Now you can see here the woven fabric on the towers, at the same time the stepwell going up and down and creating all this very strong concept, because we started with a very strong idea. So that is the end of my presentation. I just want to ask you, what can Aedas do for you? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Architect Rafael, for that insightful presentation and for sharing your expertise on transforming creative ideas into dynamic spaces. It's incredible to see how innovative design solutions come to life across such diverse projects. Thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome.
All right, now I'm thrilled to introduce our second speaker for the evening, Architect Nilabh Nagar from architect Hafeez Contractor. He has been instrumental in the design of corporate offices, retail, high-rise residentials, metro stations, airports, and hotels across India, including renowned projects for Airtel ONGC. With a career dedicated to shaping some of the country's most iconic spaces, he brings a deep understanding of how to balance aesthetics with practicality while creating environments that truly resonate with their users. Warm welcome, Architect Nilabh. We are very excited to hear your thoughts on today's topic, and that is ideas to spaces. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. Let me share my screen.
Sure, sir. You can just do it full screen, sir.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, all. I am Nilabh Nagar. I have been with this firm for last 33 years, and I have had an incredible journey here at Architect Hafeez Contractor. I will not take too much time in introducing our firm, which is one of the largest in the country, and we are working in about 25 cities across the country, and we have done a couple of projects in Dubai. So we've got fair amount of the largest and the biggest projects so far as the budgets go. We've got about 5-6 buildings which are more than 7 million square feet. We have done 4 or 5 projects of 100 acres each. We've done about 20 plus platinum rated buildings, and let's say we have created more townships than anybody else. So let's not waste time on this one. We've got, of course, now with this current trend in Bombay, which is that we need to build fairly large and tall buildings because of space constraints. So we have got now currently in this practice, we are now building a fair amount of 60 levels plus buildings, which I think is the future of where Bombay is heading to. And we've got, at one point of time, we did build the 93 stories building at Dubai, which was the tallest residential buildings for at least a couple of years before Burj Khalifa and a couple of others took over. And then Mr. Hafeez Contractor has been awarded by Padma Bhushan, which is the second highest civilian award in the country for his services for architecture. So let me start. The whole concept of today's presentation was to understand how we've taken our ideas into reality and how we have created ideas into spaces. So I'm taking 2 examples in today's presentation. One is a corporate office building for ONGC, which I did about 5-6 years ago. And that has been a very interesting journey. And I thought I could share with you, with all the young students and professionals, that every building that gets built is not a work which gets done immediately. It takes a lot of hard work and patience and changes, which something which Rafael also highlighted in his presentation right now, that what you start with and what you end up with, there is a large journey, which I think as young professionals and students, you must understand that the practical architecture is a little different from what you learn in schools. And this is a journey which I would like to share with you. This is a project which is a corporate office building at Vasant Kunj in New Delhi. It is a part of a larger complex of buildings which had Bharti Airtel on one side. It has the Ambience Mall. It has the two DLF malls, the Promenade, and this thing. And at the end of that, we were given an opportunity to create a corporate office building. This property was originally bought from the Delhi Development Authority. And when the property did come to us, by that time, the Delhi Development Authority had already established a kind of an urban design, and they wanted there's a kind of a flow of the building heights was restricted. The building footprint was given to us, and this is the building footprint under which you need to work with, and the height was given out, and they had a certain let's say guidelines for how the elevation should be. But over a period of time, when other 4 projects are already built, where we're having various styles, not necessarily completely following the original guidelines, but there was already a character which had some amount of the traditional Dholpur stone cladding, the stone cladding on the building, a certain window to wall ratios, those kind of things were kind of which is standard in Delhi, continued to happen. And then we got this opportunity to build the project called 5A and 5B. So this was the footprint which was given to us. And you can see on the left side top, there's an elevation blocking which was given as part of the plot. When DDA gives you a plot to any corporate entity or any plot owner, they give a certain guidelines. So the footprint was given. You needed to create an arcade in the center. You needed to create an entrance canopy, and you would have to pedestrianally link the whole thing. The intention was from one end of the site to the other end, there would be a great pedestrian connection. So this form, when you extrude it, you understand that this building is effectively dividing the whole space into 2 halves. There were 2 plots, and the 2 plots had a small connection of the corridor and an entrance canopy as such. So what we did was that, given the same footprint and the ground coverage that was required, we slightly changed it to ensure that the entire building was completely naturally lit, because the intention was, of course, to get fully a platinum rated building. So the intention was that every office space is not more than 10 to 20 feet away from natural sunlight. So after going through multiple combinations of floor plates, we came up with this idea that if we have a large floor plate with 2 big courtyards in the center, we would get natural light to every part of the office. Then the second thing was that this property also had 2 major companies, the ONGC and the ONGC Videsh Limited, which was, they had 2 plots, and the governing body of the 2 plots had one central board, which was the governing body for both these companies. So that particular board member or the board entity, we thought that we'll be best served if we can position them between the 2 buildings and overlooking the central courtyard. So we introduced the oval board room and the board spaces in the center of the 2 buildings, so they kind of overlook and oversee as a powerful element there. So we took the design further. We said, okay, now the challenges that this particular project had was that this entire face, which you see, the curved face, was the east and the west face of the building. The cone that you see is the north face of the building. And so once you have a large west face, then you have a challenge of the heat ingress, especially in Delhi. So we said, why not create a double skin facade, which is also a green facade, which will create the shadow and this thing. And what you create the shadow with is also lots of greenery, which helps when you overlook from the entire office, you will see completely a green wall. But we didn't want to make it a full green wall, so we said we'll create a complete wall of a set of temporary planters, which will get embedded between the outside facade and the inner facade of the building itself. So this was the first concept that we made for this project, which had the planters which are popping in and out of the glass facade, at the same time creating a double skin for the building. This was back about 10 years ago when we first came up with this, and then we started our tendering drawings and processes for it. We started excavation got over, and then by the time we had to apply for the Delhi Development Authority permission. But then we realized when we went again back to the Delhi Urban Arts Commission, is when by the time the first Urban Arts Committee which had approved this building had changed, and now we had another Urban Arts Committee which came into the place, and then we realized that, and that committee did not permit this building to happen the way it is. So they had their own opinion, and they wanted us to revise the entire elevation for the project. So this is some of the challenges that you come across in practical things. So this was not a change from the client. This was a change mostly from the authorities itself. Now in this building, the intention was, of course, to get the platinum rated. So the intention was, while we were allowed to make the entire basement in the entire footprint, we deliberately made sure that the entire basement is not used. We have natural Mother Earth in the middle of the building, so that the center of the building has got large trees, and which can then grow to its full extent and not be a podium slab. So we deliberately restricted the basement to ensure that we get large trees in the center. And like you see on the right side, there's a facade, which was the inner facade, which is the building line, which was defined. And then we had this green wall on the outside face, which would kind of block the east-west sun, which was happening there. Now with the Delhi Urban Arts Commission coming into play, we had to present them multiple options of what the facade could be. The intention, of course, from the start was that we would wanted to create a sculptural building, because the other four buildings were kind of state or very standard building of a shopping mall or a corporate office. Here we wanted to create a kind of a symbol at the very end and a kind of an anchor, which was more like an art work. And this is how we presented it to the Delhi Urban Arts Commission, that we would want this building to be an art piece. So after trying about 8 or 10 alternatives, finally the Delhi Urban Arts Commission gave approval to this, which is something, and a facade and an option that we came up with, considering the idea that ONGC, which is got Bombay High as the primary source of oil generation, which has got this pylons with steel and this thing which pops out of the sea and creates a crisscross of steel members on which the oil rig is positioned. So we took that as a reference, as an inspiration, and we said, okay, why not use that elements and create a graphical facade on the east-west side and unwrap the whole building with it. And like you said, like you can see in the center was where the board member sits, which overlooks both the buildings on either side. And from that concept, we realized this building, which has come up in, is there in Vasant Kunj. And I could say that from the concept, what we did to what we finally realized, we did come quite close to exactly what we had imagined it. And thankfully, we had a good set of contractors and people who could make this realization happen. So this is the building there. This building has got a facade which has got steel as a primary steel member on the outside. What you see, the sheen is coming from a stainless steel mesh that we imported from Germany. And on that stainless steel mesh gave us an opportunity to create nice lighting effects, which I'll show you subsequently. So this, I would say, would be one of the first or the only building in Delhi which got approved as an art piece throughout, the whole building as an art. And it took us a fair amount of effort and persistence and consistency to keep going back to Delhi Urban Arts Commission to get this building approved. But I think we have done a good job of doing it. And so the east-west facade gets completely shaded by the stainless steel mesh and the metal facade. And the interior offices are all fantastically well lit. So now, so you can see this is the building footprint. We've got an auditorium here, 500-seater auditorium, and then we have a building and office spaces all around it. We have a central garden, and we have a gardens all around the building. Like I told you, the basement, we ensured deliberately, we made sure that the central part of the basement is completely green and completely on Mother Earth, so we could create very, very nice large trees in the center of the office. So this is the overall bird's eye view of the building. We've got the metal facade on the outside. We've got the inside courtyard. Even there, we found when we did the solar analysis on the building, we found that the east facade and the west facade on the inner circle also was getting fair amount of sunlight. So to ensure that we don't have that much sunlight coming into it, we created a fabric canopy, which is one of the largest, 70 meter in diameter, which covers the courtyard and creates a lot of sunshade into the space below. I'll show you the images subsequently. So this is the first image that you see of the 3D that we had made, and then based on this we created the thing. So whatever we had imagined it, we could translate it and realize it as we wanted it. The entire garden here in the center, this is absolutely at the start of the project when we started it. Now the trees have all grown quite large. And what you see is the boardroom in the center, which is spanning both the towers on either side. The central courtyard here, we don't have any metal facade. Here, everything is glass overlooking the garden in the center. The garden itself we took that idea from the rocks, in the sense that because oil comes from below the earth, we took this whole idea of different stages of, let's say, the rock formation ages. And based on that theme, this entire inner garden was developed. This is the landscape concept. We took the various stone ages of the Earth's evolution, and this entire garden was developed based on that. We get a very nice 70-meter diameter garden, which has got an amphitheater, and the whole idea was that the water which flows from the north flows down right to the reception area down below. This is the reception, the first main entrance. Even here, instead of traditional walls and everything else, we should bring the greenery which is in the inner courtyard right into the reception, and then it flows out. So for the first time, you will find that the building has a reception which has got a full-fledged tree which grows in the middle of the reception area. This, what you see, is the upper boardroom, which overlooks the garden and both the buildings. And this is where the central board of ONGC and OVL meet for their major decisions. Now, this particular cone structure itself is an engineering marvel, in the sense that we created, to create the transparency between inside and outside, we took a very highly specialized cable net construction here, which would give the maximum transparency, and we created an inverted cone for the entrance. And as you see, this required fair amount of engineering. We got this thing done from a German firm, because the cable net is a highly specialized facade technology, which now that we are doing 3-4 of them now in India, but at this point of time we use German engineers to engineer this and install this at ONGC. Now let me come to the facade, the west face and the east face. Here, like I told you, we had this stainless steel mesh, which created, and because of the lighting, we could create multiple options on the facade. So for example, ONGC being a government and Navratna, we would want that on 26th January and 15th August, the entire building gets lit with the national flag, and it can also depict various national figures and everything else in the facade itself. So we created light points very meticulously. We positioned the light points in the entire facade to ensure that we get light and the effect that we get. And we also created a little bit of thin lights on the niches of the building, and to create the effect that we want. So this is the ultimate result of having done that. And the building does get lit at on occasions, on their foundation day, on the national days, on various festivals. So the building itself because the building itself was like an artwork. So the intention was that the building will start speaking both during the day as well as night. And then we could create multiple effects that you can see. This was during the trial phase, the photographs that I took at that point of time to see the color changing lights on that. And while this building happens, every such building is, especially for the students and young professionals, that every building before whatever you draw, you need to make sure that you get it right. So we had to create mock-ups. You can see this mock-up was created at site to see the finish, to see the quality, to understand where the mesh and how mesh will read. There were 4 types of mesh facades which we were experimenting with. We tried with the different light fittings which came up, and then we start seeing it from close by. You start seeing from distance. So you need to definitely create a fair amount of mock-up to see that it's coming out right, see the distances between the space. So whatever you have drawn, you need to make sure that there's a mock-up before it starts getting built at the factory. Same thing, first it was factory tested, seen at the factory, you see the finish, you see the quality, then you also get the facade tested. Facade has to be tested because you got the wind forces coming in, you need to see the check on the water penetration of it all. So this is something which all of you must understand, that a building is a very carefully crafted entity and you must respect it. So this was the final look which we had originally thought of. This is a 3-dimensional image, and then the building came up almost to what we wanted, and I'm quite happy that it's come out the way it is. And this is the last, and this is the night image of the same building. And now I'll go on to another building, which is the same company, but we did this building for them at ONGC at Dehradun. This is on the foothills of Mussoorie. And so the Mussoorie Hills became our inspiration. Behind this building was a very, very dense lychee bark. So it's something which we didn't want to destroy. So what we did was we kept the lychee bark as it is. And then we said, in the depression, let's create a building which is there. But also because it's so lush and green, we didn't want to create any concrete structure or anything which looked like a building. So let's create something which is completely merges with the landscape. And this is also a platinum rated building. Every office space, every workstation is not more than 20 to 30 feet from natural light. And it's also got the platinum rated from the left. And this is the realization of that building. It took a fair amount of hard work to ensure that the curves come correct, to ensure that the greens come correct, to ensure that the skylights come in place. Now the skylight, for example, here is because it's double curved. This is at a time when parametric or computer technology had not reached. This is, I'm talking about 6 to 8 years ago. So here we got, this is like an 8-way spider which had to be used on the skylight to make this happen. And of course, ultimately the building did turn out almost, I would say 85 to 90% to what we had originally imagined. This is the last project which I'm showing us in terms of the build of what we thought and what came up quite close to what we did. This was a concept we did for Cyber Hub at Gurgaon. The Gurgaon Cyber City is about 10 million square feet of office and IT park, and everything else has got more than 100,000 people or more were working there. And all of them, we thought that would need a public space. So we designed this entire public space for them, which had F&B and everything at outlets. And the idea was that this particular public space would connect to the proposed metro network, which is now built in and around the cyber city. And that passage would create a live public space. And over the years, we found that this is one of those projects which was conceived and has delivered better than what it was conceived. And it has become a hugely popular space, not only for Gurgaon and for this cyber city, but Cyber Hub, but it's also become almost a destination point for the entire south of Delhi. So during cricket matches, during football matches, during everything else, this has become a hugely successful public space, and I think something which we are extremely proud of. Now to the last project. This is a Bombay building that I'm doing right now at Sivri. This is a project which is one of the first projects which will come up when the Atal Setu, which is our trans-harbour link between Bombay and New Bombay, where this trans-harbour link comes and meets Bombay. This is where this project is located. And because of its strategic location and excellent views that it comes to the eastern harbor of Bombay city, that we conceived this entire project as a gateway. And gateway means that we created an iconic building which has its own uniqueness not seen before, which and evolved purely because of its site context and the intention of our clients to create a landmark and a most iconic of most like a super luxury office building. So this is where it's located. It's in Sivri. It has got primarily a lot of views towards the eastern waterfront, towards where the Bombay Port Trust is. It has got views of the mangroves. It has got the views all the way till Chembur and Mahul area. And on the back side, I would say it's got views towards the city of Bombay. So based on this, the entire scheme and the development started happening. Like Rafael said, it is not that the first time you get everything right. It is after multiple iterations that we need to, the final plan develops. So we had to also go through 6 or 8 options with various bedroom sizes, with various views to every room, with various configurations of structural systems, of the parking challenges, and of course of the retail area which was down below. So considering all that, there was multiple options, and then finally we decided that we should have building which has got 66% views towards the eastern waterfront and 2 flats which are facing the inside city. Based on this, then based on the same floor plans that you develop, you start iterating various building blocks, whether it's a twin building block, it's a combined building block. Within the same building block, you play around with the bedrooms and the core and things like that, which will then get you the building form. And then once you start developing it, then you come up with a brilliance of an idea which says that why not take this further up and create a gateway to it. And that is how Mr. Hafeez conceived this thing. He's a very hands-on person. He likes to iterate, and the more discussions that you have, you come up with something nice coming out of it. So we think that this after all these iterations, we found that this idea of the gateway clicks the best and the most appropriate for this site. So this is how the final sketch developed by Mr. Hafeez. We said we will create a nice like a big gateway to the city of Mumbai, and to celebrate it all, we will have a fantastic club right on the top, which will have one of the best views of the city and a great space to be in. So while we did this, there was further iterations to this, which in terms of the challenges of the structural system, how we are going to support this kind of a height, how will the building forces come down, how will you create the public spaces on the garden on the top. With all those iterations, then there were, of course, numbers to be dealt with in terms of the number of flats that can come, the FSI that had to be consumed, and the challenges of structural systems. So based on this was one of the first sketches that happened and the 3D views that we presented. And then subsequently to that, the building got a slight modification to it. We kept the primary concept. So what we see here is the building footprint and a large podium garden on the top with a club and a tennis court happening there, a large swimming pool in the center, and a podium garden, and 7 levels of parking, and then we have a retail on the ground floor. A typical floor plan, which basically tells you the 4 bedrooms and the 3 bedrooms which are in purple, the 4 bedrooms are in light orange. And then what you see here on the ground floor, we have got here there were 2 challenges. One was that there was a retail which we wanted to activate the street front. The last thing we wanted was to create a large block of podium of parking lot which doesn't relate to the street. So the intention was to create a retail space so that activate the street front right on the Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Marg. And on the rear side, we had a little bit of the existing tenants who wanted to have their own shopping there. So we have a shopping street at the back of the building, which is facing the CFD station, but we have a high-end retail happening in the front. And the entrance lobby is created, like a double-height entrance lobby is created between the building. So this is the section of the building. We have got the public spaces on the ground and the podium spaces, the retail happening on the ground, the residential floors happening above the podium, and then we have a large club on the top. Like I told you, this is the retail front which is facing the Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Marg. The dark blue is the retail, which is of the existing tenants, which are facing the Sewri station, where you've got the maximum footfall. Then we have got 6 or 8 levels of parking. Then we have got a large garden on the top of the podium, and then the building starts. And within this podium level is where we have created the club with badminton courts, squash courts, the tennis courts, and everything else. And then we have a very nice large double-light entrance lobby, which gets sunlight and natural light coming in from the east facade. This is the entrance, ground floor entrance view, which has got this entrance coming into the building, and we've got a nice large retail front. This is the top, the podium garden, and then the swimming pool. What you see on the left is the tennis courts. Then we have the entrance lobby, the lift lobby. Now we come to the top, the pinnacle, the crown of this. This was a huge challenge because first thing, it had to span over 2 buildings. It had to span an expansion joint. And so it had to be kind of a floating structure kept on top of the building, which had to be braced there. So this was the place where we put the girder, which is almost floor high, a 4-meter high girder, which kind of spanned the whole space between the 2 buildings. And then we created 2 levels of the club. And in that club also, we could create a large garden in the center, which would spill out into the space below. This is what you can see. There's a nice garden on the top. And so we have almost like a 9-meter high curtain wall, which wraps around the whole space, because at that height, a garden also would have a fair amount of wind forces running there. So to kind of protect the people who are walking there, and to also to create a holistic building on the top, we created a wraparound glass curtain wall on the building, which also had its own challenges, because this building is not a square building, a square turn. By the moment you create a trapezoidal or an inverted cone kind of a thing, all the glass panes start becoming different sizes, because the lower half is different and the upper half is different in the starts glass sizes. So that was some of the challenges, to make sure that all the glass sizes are the same size. So we started ideating on the glass modulations. And we also had to, of course, design on structuralist design. It has been tested. It has gone under the wind analysis and everything else. And that has now the final drawings are now under preparation. So this is the, like you can see this girder here, but this is the club floor. Then what I was trying to tell you about is the ideation of the glass panels. So we slowly started turning the glass panels such a way that all the glass panels from top to bottom are the same size. So this took a fair bit of iterations. And also the most important thing is that you must understand, for tall buildings is the cleaning system. So this entire girder on the top also had to accommodate a cleaning system on the top, which would come down for the person to clean both this glass as well as all the glasses down below. This is the final view of the building, which is now conceived, and this is how the construction started. We have already reached the ground level. We hope to, I think it's another 1.5 years or 2 years, I think this building will get done. This is the top club level. At the 55th level, we have got a club lounge, we have got a restaurant, we've got a banquet, we've got the health spa, and everything else happening on the top. This is gymnasium on the top, which has got an incredible views. This is the I would say, the Bombay side view, where you can see the Trans-Harbour link going through. This is the evening view, and this is the night view of how this building is positioned vis-a-vis the entrance to the Bombay from the Trans-Harbour link. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an amazing presentation. In fact, the last one that you shared was so amazing. It was honestly, if you like, from the eyes, it was looking so grand and so luxurious. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you so much, Architect Rafael and Architect Nilabh, for those inspiring presentations. It's amazing to hear how both of you are shaping the future of architecture with such thoughtful, innovative approaches. Before we move on to our discussion, I would request our audience members that if you have any question, you can post your questions in the Q&A tab box that is in the below of the screen. Moving on, let's dive deeper into today's topic and hear from both of our speakers. To begin with Nilabh sir, request you to share your thoughts first on the topic and how creative visions transform into real-world architectural masterpieces. So,
yeah, So yeah, that's like how I was telling in the presentation, is that a lot of ideation comes from the brief that you get, from the location of the project that happens, and kind of budgets client tells you on, and of course the overriding factor in, especially in the developer market, is the idea of floor space index, or the FAR, which whether you are building in Delhi or you're building in Bombay. And the most important, because unfortunately or fortunately, I would say, the 60 or 70% of Indian market, architectural speaking, is run by developers who are interested in how the building sells, and so does the architecture, and starts addressing that particular need of the building being acceptable to the general public, to being able to sell. There is a 30-40% of our practice also works with institutional buildings, with corporates, where the challenges are a little different, where one would say that you get a lot more space, you get a lot more budget to work with, and you get far more creative freedom, I would say, which is possible in institutional building, in museums, in some of the infrastructure projects like railway stations, where while you take care of the technical aspects of the building, they give you a certain amount of freedom as to your creative expression. So that is how I would think that from ideas to reality, or ideas to spaces. So you've got, on one side, you've got the challenges of numbers and budgets. In other cases, you've got challenges of space, or challenges of the process of getting the building done. For example, in government, there's always a process of tendering and the way it works. And in private, there is other challenges. So I think the thing is that architecture as a profession is a very, very exciting space it is in now, because India is on a high growth trajectory, and I think it gives us a lot more opportunities to create wonders. Rafael, if you have any opinion on this?
Yeah, no, I think I really appreciate when you were talking about addressing the concerns or the future of young architects and students. I think it's very important that they understand, as you were saying, that from the concept to the realization, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of stamina to make sure that you stick by your ideas and defend them, and are articulate enough to tell the client what should they do and why. That is the key thing. We are the designers. In a way, we are the experts, and the clients should trust us. And that is the key thing. So to make something good, and that is where the old saying comes: to have a good building, you have to have a good client. And that is, I learned that very early in my career, and I didn't really understand what that meant. And every single day is more evident. You have fantastic buildings, and that means that you had good clients, and that is very important.
Also, it is important that we have good contractors who can realize it. Sometimes great concepts get spoiled. You've given them drawings, you've given them everything else, but the contractor has somehow not sometimes done it. So then you have to do. There are some financial challenges which probably it happens, but thank God, or I think we have been good. Only a couple of cases I would say I remember where the thing has not come up to the level that we wanted. But you're right. This is absolutely good building means you've got a good client happening. That's absolutely correct. That is.
Yes, and I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes you see the problem is construction. Sometimes you see the problem is budget. But again, that is where we as experts need to advise the clients and say, hey, what is your budget? This design that I told you and you like, unfortunately, you cannot afford it. You will never be able to build it with the budget that you have. So our responsibility as architects will be to downgrade certain things where is cost effective without losing the concept. And sometimes when you don't do that, is where you see all the trouble because the contractors cannot get it done, either for financial or for technical reasons. The quality of workmanship, the speed of the process, all those things are a wide variety of factors that can derail a project. So again, good clients understand that they have to have a proper budget and check with us on a regular basis if we are within budget. They hire the correct contractor and they pay the right amount for construction. And that is what means be a good client.
Yeah, I was also wondering, I saw in your presentation that you had mentioned, and you could show us some examples of how AI has helped in design. We have, in our practice, we have just kind of started this idea of introducing AI as a concept and in terms of iterations that we need to be done. And clients are very demanding, especially now that everybody seems to be quite computer savvy. They all seem to be wanting designs as of yesterday. So how has your journey been in adopting AI in architecture?
Very interesting. I'm very passionate about it. I do a lot of things myself. But one thing is very important, and we understand that AI is just a tool, just like a CAD or Revit is just a tool. You garbage in, garbage out. And it's part of the process, learn how to prompt correctly and how to get the correct information so you get valid results. But in my mind, it's all about the speed. If you have a set of a team with humans, you ask them, give me 1, 2 options, it's going to take them days, hours, whatever it is, but it's limited. With AI, you can have infinite number of options in very little time. So it's up to us to decide which is valid and which is not. And some things that a human probably would have never thought in a million years, then it comes out and is the right idea. This is an interesting idea. This AI is not understanding the problem. However, me as a human can think a little more than that and get something out of that. So my last comment, and I tell all my team and all the junior architects working with us, is AI is not going to replace us anytime soon, but the people that know how to work AI will replace the people that don't.
Right.
It's a simple.
And how has been, we've got about 3 or 4 teams in the office who are working on Rhino and Grasshopper to create, parametric design. So we somehow went from CAD, then we went to Revit, and then from Revit we came to Rhino and parametric for design. And now, before the parametric could completely, take over or be adopted fully in the design or in the process of design, we find that the AI and the generative AI, which is now coming into it, is that a progress from that, or do you think is it like up to parallel activities which are going on right now in our design realization from design to realization? Is it something which you think is there? We're still debating on that topic here. We don't have answers for everything, but just wanted to understand how is it internationally.
Yeah, it's a valid question. I think you're right. At this moment, they're still parallel. The software development, Rhino and Grasshopper, parametrically, you can do things. However, the link of that with AI, that AI can control the parameters, I don't think it's available anytime. It's not yet in the market. Probably it's going to take very little, because programming those things are relatively easy if you know what you're doing. So I'm sure at this moment there's people working on that and trying to include AI into this type of processes. But yes, you're right. We have teams in the office. We basically abandoned CAD for all terms and purposes. We only use it when we need to, but every single project that we develop is in some sort of parametric software. We do SketchUp a little bit, but we do a lot of Rhino, a lot of Grasshopper, and that is the key thing now. As you said, clients want everything yesterday. The fees are relatively small, so we need to be very, very efficient, and we need to make sure that the software that you're using at this moment will allow you to work in a linear fashion. You cannot start in SketchUp and then throw everything away and start again in Revit or again in other software, because that is a waste of time and effort, and it lowers the quality and it dilutes the design, which is the other problem. So that's where we have invested a lot in training and in software, and believing every single one of our teams push really hard to get the right software and the right people to push the project as much as we can.
Right. No, also, I was also wondering, in the sense that I believe I understood from my colleagues from Autodesk and other thing that Singapore has, of course, taken most of your even statutory submissions to the authorities, and everything else has to be submitted in a BIM model or in a Revit
Yes.
model and things like that. We haven't
Yes.
done that. We have got, right now we submit to, I'm just telling because the students want to understand where we come in terms of, projects which we design have to be built, and for anything to be built, it has to be approved. So once you need to get something approved, you need to submit some drawings to the authorities and comes through. So currently in India, we are submitting everything in CAD, but I believe some countries, like I think Singapore, has to submit everything in BIM, and I think Dubai also, I think, is in BIM. So something like that which needs to be done, and then subsequent to that is when project starts going through to tender and then to construction phase. In some countries, I was told that you could submit probably a BIM model to the contractor and he takes over from there to realize that space. But here we are in India, we still have to create a whole lot of bunch of documents in hard copy and soft copy and PDFs to then deliver it to the client. Effectively, is what we are printing is what is already modeled. So I sometimes find what a waste of time that we have now modeled the entire building in Revit. Why not just give the Revit model and let him build it? It's so easy.
No, you're perfectly right. And you're spot on. Here in Singapore, it's mandatory for statutory submissions, sanction drawings. You submit the BIM model, and they started with projects certain size, and they have been making it smaller and smaller and smaller. And now I think everything has to be submitted in BIM. And you're rightfully so saying that as well. The contractors is a super important thing. We have here, for example, in the office, a large team doing data centers. So we're doing one of the largest data centers in the world, and everything is in BIM. The coordination meetings, you see people here in the office on the weekly progress meetings, all of them with the goggles, and they walk through the project and they start pointing at the clash detection. They see that the pipe is in the wrong place, and they spend hours inside the model with the contractor. The contractor is on board, and all the models are federated, and everything is in the perfect place before construction. That is where you really save money in a market like here. And then once the contractor started construction, because it's already under construction, everything is extracted from the BIM model. And you're right, we still need 2D drawings, because that is the legal representation of the document. You need to have a piece of paper in black and white that you can say, I charge X amount of money to deliver this project, and this is the proof. If you send a electronic model, the legal system are not yet up to speed with those type of things. And what happens if in the future the software is not available anymore? All these type of things. But a printed set of drawings is irrefutable. So it's the legal aspect of that is hindering also. But I agree with you.
We had a similar experience.
Issue a CAD model, a BIM model, sorry.
Yeah, we had a similar experience when we were doing the Reliance Geo Convention Center, which is about an 8 million square feet mixed use. You got residential on the top, you got a convention center, you got a grand theater. All of that also, when it happened, thankfully we had Samsung as the master contractor who could create that supercomputer to bring in all the BIM models and integrate them into one big model to, then run through it and to see all the teams came online to ensure that all aspects of the design, whether it is the interior team or the building management team or the MEP team and the structural team, all of it came together in one thing. And it was quite an experience to have gone through it. It took about 6 to 8 years for that big building to come up, but because and I think that's one of the first buildings, I think, which was completely done out of BIM here in India. And it was a great learning experience for the entire thing. And subsequently now our other projects are getting implemented in BIM. But 60-70% of the buildings are still purely CAD and hard copy driven system, which still in India, which I think you are quite familiar with in terms of the way when you work in India itself. So yeah.
As I said, we basically abandoned CAD. We have a few licenses, and every time the client asks us for the CAD, we just downgrade or export from Revit into CAD, because that is the software that they can open. But we decided long time ago that for quality control, we are developing everything in BIM. So plans, sections, elevations, everything tally is a model, and you develop it the right way since day one. And
right.
That's how we develop our projects.
Good. So Pooja, anything else from the audience?
Yes. We thank you so much for such an enriching discussion. We've received some fantastic questions. I'm sure the audience members are very excited to get the answers for. So we'll take a few of them. So first up, it's for architect Rafael. It says, in your design process, which includes inspiration, concept development, and realization, how do you balance the functionality of spaces with the form shaped by your concept? And the next part of this question is, at what stage of the process do functionality and form intersect? And do you prioritize one over the other? Is the form more important because it reflects your concept, or do you give equal weight to both functionality and form? So of course, you can see the question in the question answer tab.
Yes.
So yes, over to you.
It's a black art, that, because if you have a strong concept and if you try too hard to make a project work with the concept, and by doing that you destroy the planning, and as you're saying, the functionality, if you have spaces with the wrong size, shape, location, anything can destroy the project. You can have a strong concept, but if it doesn't work, it's zero. It doesn't make any sense. So it's a black art trying to make sure that your concept is strong, and at the same time, it lends itself to be developed in a pragmatical way where the function is not affected. There might be compromises, little compromises here and there, that's acceptable. But when there is a fundamental compromise, then it makes no sense. And we are very against that. We have very strong QA/QC teams here in the office that review everything that we send out to the clients, not only for technical, but for design. Our design review process is very strict, and that's what happens. People say, yeah, this is beautiful, but doesn't work. And then it's part of that process, of the long process of realizing the concept and evolving the concept, to go through all those things. So I don't think it's either or. It has to be both at the same time, and it has to be the right balance with the strong concept. So what usually happens is you don't come with the concept arbitrarily. You start looking at the site, you start looking at the constraints, you already do some sketches, and little by little you start thinking, okay, this is leading me towards something. Then I need to think, what concept can I use at that moment to make this stronger and bring it to the next level?
Absolutely well said. Thank you very much. Moving on, this is for Nilabh sir. It says how important it is to maintain the integrity of our original design vision, especially when working with government institutions that often suggest or impose design changes. Also, how do you navigate balancing creative freedom with practical modification, or let loose at the end?
No, government, for example, would be, I think, a more easier client if you haven't worked with developers. But the thing in government is not per se the officers who are there from the start to the end of the project and all that. It's sometimes, especially in government here in India, would be the changes in the political the leadership, I would say, that creates a bit of challenges at sometimes, especially in very large projects that we are involved with. That's where the change in the government itself affects the policy change itself. For example, when we are doing, and I remember in 2000, I was involved with creating a lot of social housing for slum dwellers in Bombay. I had done studies for about 28 odd districts of Bombay, and I had created a master plan for 200,000 houses, 500,000 houses, which that government wanted, that they wanted to finish it within their 5-year period. But by the time you start your, the survey and everything else, and then by the time you create master plans and you start looking at the ground realities and everything else, the government changes and the next government won't want to take forward that same agenda there. But fortunately now, for example, in the case of Dharavi, what we had started in, say, 2095-2000 period is now seeing the light of the day, and we are able to now create. So all your hard work doesn't go waste. It just may not happen in that point of time. You will get to realize it a little later. And in terms of, like I tell, creative freedom, they do give you a fair amount of creative freedom. They are restricted by their own policies of how the tendering system has to happen, how they have to go for the lowest bidder and things like that. That is some of the challenges which are there. But knowing that you will go for such a tendering or such a contracting system or procurement system, you tend to design buildings or trying to specify things which then make sure that it happens. So you have to learn the system and to be part of the system to be able to create that magic that you ultimately have. So as long as you are within the system and you're able to give them a great building, which is we could do it at ONGC and some of the other government buildings that we have done. And today, if you see whether it's the parliament or whether you see the convention centers which are built in Delhi, or you can see that we are doing a great museum at Lothal. So we realize that we still within the government system also, there is very, very progressive officers who want to make something really nice for the country, and they encourage you and they make sure that it happens. So we are very, very optimistic about the way the work things happen.
Thank you so much. We'll take the next question. It's for architect Rafael. It says, how do you balance the push for sustainability in design, especially when clients in India may prioritize commercialization over sustainability goals? What strategies can architects adopt to convince clients of the long-term benefits of sustainable practices, both in India and abroad?
That's a great question. I also started practicing something many, many years ago, and I called it stealth sustainability. You just do it. You don't tell the client. The sustainability is not having LEED or having IGBC, where you have a number of points and tick boxes and add solar panels when the building is in the wrong orientation. Sustainability starts with the basic principles: passive sustainability, the right orientation, the right materials, the right design intent in terms of air circulation, all these type of things that cost nothing. The basic and then the passive sustainability is the most important. Then, if the client or the market requires that you go for certification, it's a whole different story. And that is also a client-driven and a market-driven. It's about the cost. Are you willing to spend this amount of money? And you need to advise them. And as you're saying, it's all about the ROI. Somebody needs to understand that if you invest X amount of money today, it's going to take X amount of time to return the money back. And from that moment onwards are benefits. So many developers are there for the short run. They want to build something, sell it quick, and get out. Those clients will never entertain sustainability. Clients that are for the long term, that will own the asset, and that will understand that the more money they save on the long run is the better. Those are the clients that really understand sustainability. And it's our job to understand the difference and work with them.
Thank you. All right, so we'll take one last question because time is not on our side. So that's for architect Nilabh Nagar. It says, in Indian context, how do you see glass facade as a sustainable approach? And what is the future technology of using glass as facade in India?
I don't know why this fascination, or you call it comment on glass, is Glass is something which India, when it first came, this performance glasses started coming in 91, 92, and we used, and everybody kind of used a lot of glass on their facades happens. It's a misnomer that just because you're using glass, it's not sustainable. I don't think so at all, because today you've got such high performance glass that it matches with a fair amount of non-glass products that you think are more sustainable than glasses. So that's a misnomer. I think that is a big topic, and I think we can discuss it at some point. But you're right. There is a fair amount of consciousness in terms of energy, which is one of the reasons why you think that a bad glass could bring in a fair amount of energy, and then you have to air condition it to counter it, and it's not sustainable. So yes, there is, and mandates have come in from a lot of corporates in the sense that you tend to keep wall window ratios to 40%, and not only because one is because of energy, and second is glass facades are a little bit more expensive than traditional facades or brick masonry facades and all that. So there is a kind of mandate which comes in, and the local codes also maintain that you try to optimize the entire wall window ratio. And also said that you must understand it is the judicious use of glass facades to the orientation, to the way it is, and into the context. That is the most important thing. It is just not that you criticize saying that it's a glass facade, so it's not good, or it's something like that. Yes, there is a realization that has come about that a pure all glass facade is a dumb building, in the sense that it doesn't speak for itself. So today, architects are far more sensitive to the idea that the buildings have to speak both to the city as well as everything else. And to that extent, we tend to use glass very, very judiciously in the building. Sometimes you need to use it because not only is the building has to symbolize certain things. So it's a client's wish. You ultimately are designing for a certain corporate who wish to have a certain image in the market, and they want to promote that. It's our responsibility to say that just by using glass, you don't get that image. You can get that image by creating a building which is which speaks itself. So it's I think a standard statement saying that don't use glass as a sustainability material is not a thing. You should look at it holistically as a complete thing, and then decide on the use of glass.
Thank you so much, Architect Rafael and Architect Nilabh, for those insightful answers and sharing your wisdom with all of us. All right, before we wrap up, I would request both of you to kindly share the closing thoughts with us. We can start.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Just a closing thought, in case you have any, for this entire session, about the topic, anything. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the interaction with Nilabh, and this ping pong of ideas. I think, as you said, is enriching for the entire audience, and not only for them, but for us. I mean, I learned a lot of things from him, and I hope he learned a few things from us as well. And I'm happy to do these kind of events. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. So,
like I like to say that world is one, and I'm really happy that our community of architects and everything have got, especially post-COVID, we have got this incredible opportunity through video conferencing to interact and to be able to do it, which we couldn't do, let's say, 10 to 15 years ago. And I'm really grateful to opportunities like this, where we get to interact with a host of people whom we would have to travel to and meet up. So I think it's a great opportunity. And also I find, and as a closing statement, which is what my last slide says, I am highly excited about our profession and the fact that the changes that architecture can give. We unfortunately are responsible for 40% of the energy use in this planet. And it is our responsibility to create a better world, a better city, and we owe it to the society to make it happen. And I'm very, very happy that the young generation who is learning this are able to pick it up and to make it happen. So all the best to all of us.
Thank you so much for your encouraging words. What an incredible session. And thank you to our speakers for sharing their expertise and giving us a glimpse into how ideas turn into transformative spaces. A big thank you to all our audience members for your engagement and thoughtful questions. We hope you found today's episode inspiring and informative. Don't forget to stay connected with us for updates on episode 5 of We See Live. Until then, have a great evening and continue to push the boundaries of design. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Godrej Value Co-Creators Club, where innovation meets collaboration. GVCC is a unique platform for architects and interior designers to merge their creative visions with our innovative product offerings. We aim to cultivate a network of thought leaders, driving innovation and excellence in the industry. Celebrate your achievements with our GV's Awards, recognizing innovative projects across various verticals. Join our community through exhibition visits and masterclasses to stay updated on the latest trends and technologies. Enjoy exclusive access to new products, special discounts, and tours of our Mumbai and Goa plants. Join the Godrej Value Co-Creators Club today. Be part of a community that values innovation, collaboration, and sustainability.